Greetings, my name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, the Core New Core, my licensed presenters, my patrons. If you're not a patron, it's time to be a patron, right? It's time to I encourage you to see that it's time to be a patron. To have the opportunity to embrace in the karma of supporting a point of view of Pilates and a recognition of biomechanics that currently are not recognized. Meaning that this whole deal of core new tension in the body, nobody wants to give that still a shadow of a recognition of reality and matter-of-factness to which I profess it has. Okay? So just so you know, the two things I have for you are this identification of how the body engages itself to move through space, and a point of view of Pilates that is just one point of view among yours and mine and everyone else's. Today is number 1300, 4 days ago that I started a daily reformer routine. And that was because I said no to the condition that I was in. And in saying no to what I was, started doing a routine that has been a bulwark of, I don't think I'm saying that right, a foundation of support, that routine of a daily intermediate reformer. The intermediate reformer as is on michaelmillerpilates.com. So, 1300 days ago. Number 2 is you take your own focus, and that has to do with you choose your reality, you make of the world what you want, just that kind of a statement. And having just commented about 1300 days of trying for a daily routine of the intermediate reformer, it's before that routine starts that I start my notes and do a CC question mark, as in for the Core New Core, what's the broadcast about? What's the notes? What do I want to share to those that are interested in one or both of CT and MMP? From my point of view, CT is just the way things are. It's a fact of the matter that this is the way the body engages itself. I know it from sensation in my own body, and I know it from decades of using the knowledge of core new tension to help people do better Pilates. Why is that, you say? Because in Joe's book, Joe says contrology develops the body uniformly, and from that, MMP points to my identification of. I'm the person pointing to it. I'm sorry, I take responsibility for it, and I take pride in the fact that I'm pointing to something that has a matter of factness about it, to the point that it's sensational. So, number 2. I'm on number 2. You take your own focus and CC question mark in terms of taking notes. But also, there I did go to number 3. Number 3. So this is a sentence. You can go as deep as you can go. So in my imagery of diving into your concentration, right? That dive can be greatly influenced if you're the instructor and meeting a person, letting a person find the depth to which they can go, the degree to which they can get. Don't get in the way of, I'm saying don't, and I try never to do that. You want to keep it safe. Number 1, always have insurance. When in doubt, leave it out. It's a great piece of advice because there's so much other stuff. If you're in doubt, leave it out. And then if it nags you over the course of the whole session, go to explore it really carefully. And just in heading toward exploring it, you may discover what was taking you in that direction and more appropriately where you'd rather go. So you can't let go of the exploration and discovery that you're on with your student. And part of that I think I'm talking about is being able to allow a student to dive in and explore their own ability, right? Go into their own cave of sensation and be able to make distinction and find more control. So from as deep as you can, trying to come to something more specific. There I am in my notes. I knew I was in there somewhere. Instructor, keep it safe, and let the student explore their own depth, right? So my notes now are reinforcing what I was taking from my notes out of my head. And then in terms of explore, you can go as deep as you can. And if your target is contrology, and in going after that, it's like you can go as deep as you can, which means we all are human beings and we all work within our limitations and the individuality of ourselves. But in our attempt to be as completely coordinated as we can be in our capacities, it totally brings us into what we're looking for, which is more presence in the moment. We're trying to back up into being here now. Ram Dass is gone, and yet not. So let me go to number 4. Number 4 is long spine core criticality. So the long spine on the reformer, for me, the experience of it and the control of it is coming from a complete visualization, or imagination really, imagination of there being a rotational dynamic at the hips, which is a fact of the matter, and that in recognizing the depth of the grip has a great degree of control of the grip, and that the grip comes out of and goes into, and here's where, is it the center or is it the axis? If we were just, I think, energy, we would be in the shape of a ball. But instead, I swore, I'm sorry, I discovered my pen with no top on it, and such neglect is unexcusable, and losing your train of thought. Core criticality on the long spine. Oh, and then I hadn't talked about that yet. So, and then my summary. So let's go to the summary. You have to embrace the rotational dynamic to get to where you want to go. And that's just because it's the fact of the matter. And the more you're coming from the fact of the matter, or engaging in the fact of the matter, the more control you're going to have in the effort. So the core is not just some slab of meat moving around. And it's not just bones and muscle. It's the combination of that and all the rest of it that makes dynamic tension, and in making that dynamic tension facilitates moving through space. So. My notes here are addressing teaching, reaching for the criticality of alignment. Now, how do I go from that to that? Standing on the Cadillac with your arm springs connected low, so that you can lean away from the arm springs. See, and my marker's all gone because of, let's see if my marker likes tea. Cadillac. Springs to arms, which is the shoulder axis, and so off of that the head, and I'm not drawing it well, and the body's coming down like this. So the so the shoulders, my point is, if you recognize where you're standing, this could be off of a spring wall. Low spring's really low, and a heavier spring than a lighter spring, because having straps, not handles. So do this with an instructor and get a clearance from your doctor and all of that good stuff. Don't be dumb. But when you lean against or lean out against spring tension, it gives you a chance to dynamically find alignment between your shoulders and your ears. Now, if you're really tight in your shoulders, that may take a while to get to the range that a normal human being would have. There is no normal, but someone that would have that range. It's such a privilege to have a studio where you can pick from so much variety of engagement in the human body to control their movement or to discover themselves in their movement. That's a good way of saying it. And so standing, arm spring lean-aways. From wherever the springs are low and you lean back, it gives you a chance to open at the chest, to actually find and embrace the rotational dynamic in the shoulders. And connected to that, and as part of that, discovering that you can make oppositional rotation at the ears, and that's core nu tension. Someday, a lot more people will be hip to that than just you and me. Hopefully you pass on what you know, because life can't live forever. Read between the lines. See behind the curtain. Connect the dots. Evaluate points of view. Know how to make an offer. $10 for 20 minutes. $2 for 10 minutes. 50 cents for 50 minutes. Paid in advance. And then you get that much time to make an explanation of CT and MMP. It makes a great opening for establishing a business relationship, and it cuts off those who want whatever they want from you for free. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it does have to be money, because if there's not money involved, then somebody's really on this thing of, well, nothing's worth paying for, and as my view is that you do a person a disservice if you don't allow them to pay value for value. Now that's sort of a backward argument. I like to get paid a lot because I think I'm worth a lot. But I don't have to get paid a lot to give what I'm worth. Especially if it's just a presentation. If you don't connect on the presentation, you surely won't be interested in learning more as a student from a teacher, or actually being involved as a student with an instructor. So, adding 2 and 2, direct your thinking. Direct your thinking. And the lesson from yesterday, know your costs. So in adding 2, that should go with adding 2 and 2. Know your costs. You can't do that unless you know your costs. Know how much it's costing you before you make your offer. All right. Geist.